Journey with Judy. Honest, open, transparent. It's hot.
There's no such thing as perfect people. There's no such thing as a perfect life. So come as you are, broken and scarred. Lift up your heart and be amazed and be changed by a perfect God.
Good morning. Thank you for choosing to journey with Judy this Labor Day weekend. We're talking about happiness today. And as you know, if you're an avid listener of Journey with Judy show, the thing that my kids say to me on a regular basis is what's wrong? Like they look at my face and say, what's wrong? In the morning, they come down the stairs and ask what's wrong. When I pick them up from somewhere, they say what's wrong. I'm trying to get them to resolve themselves to the fact that this is my face, Dave. I guess it's kind of like a what's wrong kind of look that I have. But I don't know, this past week since we journeyed together, I have been more happy than usual. And I don't know if it's because I'm looking at what's wrong or what's right instead of what's wrong, or instead of what's wrong, I'm looking at what's working. But I know that overall my disposition is happy, Dave, and I'm totally digging that. And I was even happy when I went out to lunch earlier this week with 3 of my girlfriends, and I went to pay, and I realized that the $10 that I had in my wallet that Kennedy took out of my wallet, Dave. And so I texted her and said, by any chance, did you steal the money out of my purse? The only $10 I had. And she said, you owed it to me and just use a credit card. And I was so mad. I stayed happy though until I got home and I was telling the story to Campbell, and she goes, but I'm wondering if you got the $10 from my wallet, which I did. So I literally stole it from Campbell. Campbell stole it from Kennedy stole it from me. But wait, that wasn't even my opening story. But I put an IOU. I said, Mom owes 10. And then I put it in my purse. And then when I went to pay, I didn't have it. So anyway, I remained happy. But anyway, back to the subject at hand. So happiness by definition is being satisfied or being content. And it's so funny because when I looked up the definition, because I'm totally a word nerd, it actually said as the example, she struggled to find happiness in her life. So I can call that a coincidence or God was actually speaking to me. But happiness is literally a state of being. So I asked a few people what made them happy, and it was so funny to me because, you know, the Bible says that you're happy if you're poor in spirit, if you're mourning, if you're meek, merciful, a peacemaker, or pursuing righteousness. That's what's supposed to make you happy, Dave. You know, happy means blessed. So I took a little survey. I texted my kids and said, I'm working on my show. What is it that makes you happy? And so here was some of the responses, okay? We get to play Guess the Kid. So I'm sad to say that my man didn't even reply. Like, I don't know if that means nothing can make him happy, so he just didn't even text anything. But actually, he did ultimately reply. So here's the responses when it was simple. What makes you happy? I had one kid that said success in everything. Another kid that said acknowledgement of my success and winning in competition. Another kid said you getting out of my grill. That's what makes me happy, you getting out of my grill. Another kid that said lake life makes them happy and being with a particular friend of theirs. And then I actually interviewed someone this morning, and their response was when the fair is over. That's what makes me happy. So before we go, when we come back from break, you can try to figure out who said what. And remember, what's making you happy is the thing that makes you feel satisfied, makes you feel totally content, and happiness is the truth, Dave. We're going to hear about that from Pharrell later on. Okay, so we'll be back after the break. You are journeying with Judy right here on Lake 96.1 this happy Labor Day. Okay, so welcome back. And if we're leaving behind us the void of happiness from yesterday and we're moving into today, and the something new today could be a state of being happy. And that's just being satisfied and content. And the definition was that they gave in the dictionary was she who struggled to find happiness in her life. So I guess that's me, Dave. Like they're actually talking about me in the Webster's dictionary. And my kids would confirm that I'm usually not very happy, which means I'm not satisfied and I'm not content. But just out of curiosity, I did ask those I gave birth to and my man who I've been married to for 122 years, feels like it was 122 years underwater. Last week we celebrated that anniversary, but he gave me the response that when others around him are happy. Now, I don't think I told you that before the break, but Bob said when others around him are happy. You know, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. That's what Bob said. Carter said he is happy when he has success in everything. He mentioned another thing, which would be R-rated or maybe X-rated, so I won't be saying that. Chandler said acknowledgement of my success and when I win in competition. Did you guess that, Dave? Yes, who do you think said get out of my grill? Kennedy. No, it was Campbell, because obviously Kennedy's rubbing off on Campbell, and Campbell said, you and your dumb games, what makes me happy is you getting out of my grill and not playing 20 questions. So Campbell was the rudest of the bunch. Kennedy said... Yep, Kennedy said the lake life. She really, really feels happy, satisfied, and content living, around Lake Geneva. It's so beautiful, and she absolutely digs it. And my friend Dave is the one who said, when the fair ends, the Walworth County Fair ends, Dave.
I love the Walworth County Fair, but
it's just
I'm
just
ready for it to be over from a Lake 96.1 perspective.
I get it. So there's no diss on the fair, but I will tell you, I was such a terrible mother when we used to come here, or when the fair would come to town, we would say, no fair. No fair. There would be no fair. So we would only go if the kids caught wind of the fact that every other kid was going, right? Well, we lost Chandler there once, and I think it just brought back weird memories. Yeah. But anyway, so we're back to this whole happiness gig, and I think the bottom line is many people don't even know what makes them happy. Dave, would you agree with that? Yes. I mean, I think people think they know what will make them happy, and when they actually find that thing, they realize it didn't actually make them happy. So I was a little sad that my kids didn't answer the Google search I did, which is when I give and forgive, when I feel gratitude, and then I'm happy. My kids had these tangible things that make them happy. And I know that my kids and myself are not the only ones who have wasted time, money, and energy on what we were told was going to make us happy. True that, Dave? I mean, I don't know how many countless books there are or marketing programs that they're trying to market happiness. Like, if you do this, if you buy this, if you whatever, it's guaranteed to make you happiness. But see, here's what happens is it didn't. And that's because it doesn't. And so happiness it's difficult. It's difficult to get it. And then when we get it, I think it's virtually impossible to sustain it because we're putting it in a what? Right? It's about the what. If I get this, I'll be happy. And so I'm here to share with you the really good news that you can stop putting your happiness in the what, because happiness is more about the who than the what. Last week I said something about, you can trust the what, when, where, and how, 10,000 what, when, wheres, and hows to one who, right? In this case, the what is really not what I think we focus all our energy on the what, but it's not about the what, it's about the who, right? So happiness is always associated, follow me, with a who or to. Now, this is not a Dr. Seuss book that I'm rewriting, but it's an Andy Stanley teaching that I stole from him because I loved it, mostly because I struggle with the feeling of being satisfied and content, in other words, happy. And happiness is always associated with a who or to. Dave, true that? Is that true? Because you might be happy with your wife or with your daughter. It's different than just being with Dave, right? So happiness is absolutely wrapped up in a who or to. Because here's what we come to find out when we put our happiness factor in the what wears off. True? True. The what absolutely wears off. So when my kids say, for my birthday, I want this, as much as I want to give them that very thing, if I really, truly believe that it would make them happy for more than an hour or until another version of that what came out, I would give them that thing. But if the sooner we can realize that our happiness is always in the who and never in the what, we can stop buying the new car that got old, the new relationship that got old, the new phone that got old, and we can just try to figure out what it is about the what that just doesn't sustain us, right? Have you ever been around somebody, Dave? I know that we are when we've been to the shelter or gone on mission trips, and we've gone around people who are clearly, without judgment, less fortunate than us, right? They have absolutely no what's. The what's that we said would make us happy, they don't even have any. But when you're around them, there's this like joyfulness and sense of what I don't have, and a lot of times my family doesn't have, this satisfaction and contentment, which is just happiness. And you know what? Here's the other thing, is I know as a parent, said it a million times, you're only as happy as your saddest child. It is so hard to be happier than your saddest kid. Right? Does that make sense? Okay. You know this now, Dave. When Avery's sad, you're sad. And mostly because you can't make her happy. Right? Well, exactly. At some point, you have to discipline her too. But, yes. Right? Okay, so here's the deal. The good news is that the reason that we're wired that way and the reason why the what doesn't satisfy us is because we were created and designed to be about the who. And even a who or two, because we were designed to be relational, right? So one of the examples Andy, he gave in this teaching that I stole and I love so much is he was saying how at the end, the regrets that we have are not going to be possessional, Dave. I don't know if you've ever been with somebody who was nearing the end or suffering a terminal disease and knew the end was near. They really didn't say, like, can you go get my car and bring it in here? You know, can you go get my jewelry, my home? Like, it was never about the possessional thing. The regrets will always be relational, right, Dave? And not possessional. Okay, so there's a couple different mentalities of this whole happiness factor or lack of happiness factor, is that somebody says, I don't need anyone to make me happy. Dave, have you ever heard that? I don't need anybody. I don't need anybody. Maybe I don't even need anything to make me happy. And you know, if you're someone saying that, I would challenge you by saying that you are someone who has so many friends that you never had none. Because otherwise, I don't know that you could say that. I don't need anybody. So that's one mentality. The other mentality is someone who's so isolated and doesn't feel that they could maybe reconcile with the people that they think they don't need. And so they just default to, I don't need them. And the reality is we were created to be relational, right? And here's the other thing I think that we all do. It's kind of like a defense mechanism. When we can't get what we want, which is what we think is going to make us happy, we convince ourselves and then try to convince other people that we really didn't want it anyway. Totally. It's such a powerful thing. So I didn't really want it anyway. And you know what? When it comes to things, the what, I'm okay with that mentality. Someone saying, you know what, I wanted that new whatever, but I really don't want it anyway because I really can't get it. But I'll tell you that's a terrible default when it comes to a relationship, Dave. Absolutely a terrible default. Because today we're talking about what is the thing that makes you happy. And I'm here to tell you there is no thing, there is nothing, no thing, nothing can make you happy. However, there is a thing, there is definitely a thing that every person has that seems to be happy. So do you want to know what that is? I know you do. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about that when we get back. You are Journeying with Judy right here on Lake 96.1. And that is only because of Cunis Country Auto Group, who sponsors this crazy show. We'll be back after the break.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, bring me down. Can't none bring me down. Your love is too high. Bring me down. Can't none bring me down. I said, take now. Bring me down. Can't none.
All right, welcome back. Thank you, Pharrell. I love that song. It just totally makes me happy, Dave. I don't know why. I just dig that song, and I totally want to clap my hands. It never gets old to me. It turns my frown upside down every time. And so we love for... Exactly. Yeah, let's not. We need to pray for Miley. We totally need to pray for her. And if I was in the privacy of my own home, I might not say something as Christian as that. But anyway, But for the grace of God, there goes my daughters right there. So whatever, we'll pray for Miley, leave it at that. So we're talking about happiness if you just tuned in, and happiness being a state of being content or being satisfied. And the good news for me, which justified a huge decision for my man and I, was this fact that I listened to this teaching, and it said, at the end of your life, you're not going to be looking for something that's possessional, but you're going to be looking back and having regrets about relational facets of your life. And so my man and I decided that we were going to spend a bunch of money that we don't have, because on our deathbed, we're not going to be looking for it. And we were going to fly out to Arizona and see our son play football, Dave. So how about that? So the mind can rationalize just about anything. So if I do owe you money, sorry, it's all about the relational factor. Exactly. So anyway, the very one thing that people have who seem to be so happy, that's consistent. It's this thing that isn't tangible. It's not something that you can put your finger on. But if you did try to figure out what it is that people possess consistently that live in a state of happiness, I will tell you what they have, Dave, is peace. Peace. Did you even think even remotely that was the word? How? Here's the deal. Peace with themselves, peace with others, and peace with God. Now, I say that because peace is that place. It's like, remember Jesus said, peace I give you. Like, peace I'm leaving. And we're like, well, no, I'd rather have a car and a house and a boat. Like, I don't want the peace. You can keep the peace. I'll keep the unsettled, disturbed disposition, which allows me to never have the very thing that you want me to have, which will help me and ensure my happiness, which is peace. Okay? Peaceful people are not unsettled. They're not unforgiving. They're not angry. And what's so funny when you, and hopefully you, because it's definitely me, when I meet someone sometimes who has that peace about them that I don't have, number one, I hate it. Number two, because they have something that I don't have, that I don't possess without spending a lot of time in quiet with Jesus. Like, I get moments of peace, maybe a couple hours or days, but it's not definitely not my general disposition. No, I think that's because I think that I, like many other people, are seeking outside for a peace, contentment, and satisfaction that you can't get from the outside. It's from the inside out. And so when we meet someone who has this happiness factor, this peace factor, and something is really bad happening to them, and they're like, it's good. And you're like, no, it's really not okay. Like, we're tempted to take on an offense for them that they willingly put down, knowing that even though it might not be okay, it's going to be okay. Did you ever meet someone like that? I love people. I think your mom is like that. When I met your mom, Dave, she had that peace about her.
She's very even keeled.
She is. I guess it's just they believe that justice is going to happen and that all is going to be well. So I guess the teaching for today is anything that undermines your peace is something that undermines your happiness. Would you agree with me, Dave? Anything that undermines your peace ultimately will undermine your happiness. True?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so we search outside of ourselves for the what, knowing that it's never the what, but only the who, and sometimes who plus two is ultimately what's going to bring us like the greatest sense of satisfaction, contentment, which is something that money can't buy, right? Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's something that Jesus tried to tell his followers. Like he said, when they said to him, do you remember this teaching, Dave, where they said like, okay, what's the most important thing? If there's one thing that I got to go and do, what is it? And do you remember the one thing that Jesus said they had to do? Okay, he said, love God first and foremost, then love your neighbor as yourself. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's got to be, forget that. That's way too hard. I'd rather hate my neighbor and love God when I need something and then be unsettled and unforgiving and, never have any peace. And he said, here's the deal. If you do that, you will have peace with me. You will have peace with yourself. And you're going to have peace with the peeps that make you unsettled, angry, and unforgiving. Peeps with the peace with the peeps. I totally love that. Okay, so here's the other thing that disrupts your peace, menopause. Dave, every time at this segment of the show, minutes before the hour, I wish that someone could see me right now. I am seriously sweating like I just ran a marathon. What is up with that? That is a peace disruption that I have not found in Scripture as of yet. However, I know if I'm loving my neighbor as myself, and that part about yourself is the killer, Dave, because if I can't love you if I don't love me, and you know that I'm struggling with that. So what, my friends, is more important than peace with God, peace with others, and peace with the peeps? We were created with this capacity for happiness. And God is the one, the only who's going to make that happen. So the question for the week is, what's stopping you from being about the who? Stop being about the what. It will never end well. Dave, peace is always in the who or two. Thanks for choosing to journey with Judy this morning. And next week, we will have traveled to Tucson, Arizona, where there's monsoons. Judy on triathlon ball flying. It's going to be a really good show next week, so you're going to want to stay tuned. Thank you for journeying with Judy this morning. And Dave, let's get some happiness says the truth. We'll be back next week. Keep it hot, honest, so hot, open, and transparent. Peace out.